Today we're joined by QStar, a company with nearly 30 years in archiving software, powering everything from government archives to modern AI-ready storage workflows. We break down how organizations can reclaim capacity, control data sprawl, and build scalable, low-cost archives across tape, disk, and cloud. Let's get into the conversation.
Hi, I'm Ray Quattromini from Fortuna Data. Welcome to another episode of Smarter Strategic Thinking. Today we have Dave Thomson from QStar. Welcome. Nice to see you.
You too.
Let's start at the beginning. How did you get started in IT? What was your interest?
So my parents were both in IT. My mum is a programmer. My dad worked for ICL way back.
Oh my God! Wow.
And so from a very early age, I was into sort of computing. My parents told me very early on, don't become a programmer. Sell computer stuff. Don't become a slave to computers. So I got involved with a reseller very early on, just selling all sorts of different stuff, and then progressed into distribution and then into manufacturing, where I think I met you at Plasmon, and
Yes.
and now on to QStar now.
So when your parents worked at ICL, were they in Kidsgrove?
They were in Kidsgrove, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I remember dealing with them. That's how old I am. How long have you worked for QStar, and what's your role now?
So it's 16 years now. Previously 14 years at Plasmon, so 30 years in archiving, a little bit before that with a Hewlett-Packard distributor, so getting on for 35 years totally. So my role now is sales and marketing. I have recently, end of last year, came back from America, so I was running the US operation for QStar for 15 years. And just because of family reasons, really, we decided to come back. My wife's American, and that's how we got over there. But now it's down to sort of family reasons to be back here again in the UK.
Yeah. You obviously work for QStar. When was QStar founded, and where is QStar based?
So QStar was founded in 1987, so 38 years ago. Yeah. They are now based in Denver, Colorado, with a European headquarters in Milan.
Right.
We were and have been in various different places in the US. It was originally formed in just outside of DC. Most of what we were doing back then, and to a reasonable level still are, is US government-based archives.
Right.
So they wanted to be close. We moved down to Florida for a while, and now up to Denver, Colorado.
Can you sum up in 5 words or less what QStar does?
We do archiving software.
Straightforward.
2 words.
and how does QStar solve the archiving problem that everybody has?
Sure. Well, again, we've been doing it a long time, so we support a whole range of different storage technologies, primarily tape. Most of the time, I would say 90-something% includes tape of some sort as part of the solution, but it's not completely tape. So we support cloud and object storage, and of course just plain disk if you want it as well. But tape is very, very important now. Originally, the way I got involved with QStar was because I was with an optical library manufacturer. Obviously, today optical really doesn't exist.
No.
But back then, QStar also supported optical as well. Now, as I say, it's mainly tape, mainly LTO, and we work with all sorts of different library manufacturers and all versions of LTO to create solutions. The key thing is to provide as many different protocols to make it simple for organizations. So we support SMB, NFS, and S3, and you can do that on either Windows or Linux servers. Again, we're not hardware, we don't sell hardware, so the whole idea is to provide as much choice as possible for users that want to create archive solutions of varying sizes.
So your S3 to tape is quite a new addition, isn't it, relatively?
It is. I think for most people, that if you actually look at all our competitors as well now, most of them do S3. It's just the fact that they often have come out with separate products.
Yes.
Our product actually does all 3 together. You could actually push data in through one protocol and pull it out through a different one if you wanted to. So you could push data in, if you're in a Windows environment via SMB. If you've got remote users that want to connect into that same data on tape, you can allow them to have, a read-only version via S3 rather than having to use VPNs and such like to get data out.
What is, for our viewers here, What's the name of your best-selling product?
It's Archive Manager. It's actually shortened. It's really Archive Storage Manager, but then that starts to get a little bit of a mouthful, so we normally just shorten it to Archive Manager.
How easy is it to install and set up? Does it involve like days of training or work? Or
We normally do remote installs, not because it's installed. It's obviously very easy. It's just download and click the button. The little bit of configuration, we typically are going through as a remote session to try and work out how big your library is and how many tape drives you have. So the whole idea really is to create a flexible environment that you can then install and change if you want to. So as your archive environment grows, you might want to change the configuration a bit. The reason being that if you've got maybe only, let's say, one tape drive in your library, you want to be able to configure it either for writes or reads, depending on what the most aggressive part of your business is. So if it's true archive, like a deep archive, you're probably going to want it for writes. If you're more flexible, then you're going to be using that same drive for reads and writes. And therefore, there's some configuration options within our cache to allow you to decide when you're actually writing data. So we can store more content in cache and therefore allow data to be, the drive to be used for read purposes. And then maybe at the end of the day, we'll then start writing data out to that same drive. Of course, when we go to larger numbers of tape drives, then we don't need to worry about that. We can use read and write operations at the same time.
One of the things that companies have a problem with is they've got data sprawl everywhere.
Yes.
So how do you bring all that data that's on various pools, could be the cloud, could be a NAS, could be something else, how do you bring that and then you can start archiving that data or analysing it?
Yeah, so Archive Manager is a back-end product that just supports libraries, for example, or other archive storage technologies presenting that view, if you like, via SMB, NFS, and S3, as we said. We also have a second product called Network Migrator, and that will allow us to actually manage primary environments, Windows, Linux, Unix, Mac, and other NAS devices as well. So we can actually scan targets, find files based on policies, and then do either a copy, a move, or potentially a stub and migrate, depending on the ability of the front-end file system to create stubs. So the idea then is to move it backwards and create those links if you want, or just to tidy up your file system so that those old files only exist, say, on tape or in the cloud now. You have to train your users to know that content has been moved. Typically, when we are doing that move or migrate, the files in the archive environment remain in the same file structure as you'd seen originally in the primary environment. Right. So if you've got files, say, /Dave/QStar, in the archive environment, you'll see exactly the same thing, but obviously under a different drive letter, amount point, whatever.
Yeah, and doesn't Microsoft show it as give you a slightly different symbol, doesn't it?
It does, yes. So again, there's and obviously within Linux as well, you'll see the archive bit has been set too. So you can see exactly where it is. If you've left a stub in Windows, it's a repass point. You can actually have 4 locations of that file. It will go through and actually find. You have a primary set, so it will go through and find where the files have been moved to. In Linux, it's a symbolic link, and that's only to a single location.
Right. How is your software licensed?
Yeah, so it's based purely on capacity. So you don't have to license the entire library up. If you've got a large library and you know you're going to grow into it over, say, 10 years, we don't need you to license the entire library on day one. A lot of users prefer to do it that way because it's sunk costs. It's a perpetual license anyway. So if you know you're going to be using that capacity at some point, you can do so. You can buy it immediately. So it's a perpetual license that you buy based on capacity. There are obviously uplifts for specific features, such as mirroring or replication to second stores, maybe cloud or a second library. And then there's a support cost, which is an annual cost. We guarantee that as long as you renew your support, the support costs don't go up.
We all know that at the moment there's a global shortage of storage. We're in a storage winter.
Yes.
And companies are telling me 2720, 2028, so these timelines are going further out.
Yes.
How can QStar help save money with these escalating storage costs? Because they are going up massively and very fast.
Yeah, I mean, it is tough because people are obviously going to need it for more processing, faster processing, etc. So, but if you've got content that is sitting there idle, taking up capacity, then that's potentially an easy way of actually reclaiming capacity you already own. So identifying those files or projects that you've already completed, and rather than letting them sit on expensive disk or obviously NVMe or whatever you're using today, tidying that up, moving it out to something lower cost. It doesn't have to be tape at the back end. It could be some other form of storage in the middle. So, back to the old tiered storage environments.
Yeah.
But you could actually just move it out to a lower cost old NAS disk if you're using a lot of high performance NVMe and you want to reuse it more often. It's a matter of basically shuttling that data backwards and forwards as you really need it.
Yeah, and what a lot of this data that we talk about is unstructured data.
Mm-hmm.
Coming from a manufacturer, what percentage of unstructured data do you see?
Well, we don't really manage structured at all. So everything that we do is unstructured content. So again, it's a matter of where you want to store it at the back end. We'll support anything that you want to move it to. It is an archive environment, so that's also a consideration. What we mean by an archive really is it's self-supporting. We don't need a third-party backup tool at all. What we do is we write our own content to the storage that we're actually using as the archive, and therefore we can do a full recovery just from our own environment without having a backup solution. So the other thing, of course, with archive is to make sure you've got multiple copies of the same data. So if you've got a piece of tape media, it's very secure, but you want a just-in-case copy as well. So if it does have a problem, we can actually just switch over to a secondary copy of that data and get the data back from there.
Is there a free trial of the software that our viewers can download? And
it's on request. So yes, it's basically on a project basis. So if somebody's interested in contacting you, Ray, they can actually get us. We would work with them to understand what their requirements are. We could provide 30-day trial licenses for both Network Migrator and Archive Manager. And of course, we would do the initial configuration and setup once we understand what the objectives are for the user.
And is there a sweet spot from a capacity perspective of where it's
moving, isn't
yeah,
it?
Well, it's going up. We understand that.
So obviously, with LTO 10 coming in, which just jumped from 30 terabytes to 40 terabytes, and I always work on native because I always assume that somebody's pre-compressing data before they send it to us. Suddenly, we're getting into the multi-petabyte for very small tape libraries.
Yeah.
And so yes, that sweet spot continuously keeps moving forwards as data grows. And obviously the storage technology grows as well to cover it.
You're right. The footprints are definitely shrinking. And one of the things the other day, Amelia and I were talking about this the other day, was that Solidim have just launched a 122 terabyte NVMe drive.
Yeah, and I actually saw a 256 terabyte NVMe at Supercomputing last week.
These are 2.5 inches. It's just, it's crazy, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
All right, they're an eye-watering amount of money, and they're as rare as rocking horse. But you just can't get hold of them. It's quite crazy how the capacities. People think when they look at a petabyte, they think I was going to fill a rack. And they do,
anymore.
honestly. Not anymore. It's like IBM said a flash system as 1U. Exactly. It's crazy. So,
exactly. Yep.
And that's a petabyte in 1U. It's
if
mad.
You get it.
If you can get it, exactly. If we were to record this in 12 months, what advances would you see QStar has made and where the world is with regards to AI and data? Because they're generating so much information at the moment. They're really going to struggle where to put this stuff. As much as they think, we're going to create AI. It's where do you see it in 12 months?
So it's naturally going to get bigger and bigger always. AI obviously is interesting from a software company as well because we want to actually include more AI features within our own software too. try and help organizations understand what their environment is and do more. The whole idea is metadata, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so if we can actually grab more of that metadata or understand more about the content that we're storing, we're giving more value back to the user as well. So yeah, we plan to put an awful lot more effort into AI features in the next year. We're actually expanding the company at the moment, so we'll probably be doing a press release next year, but we're probably going to go up maybe 20% in terms of employees. Yeah, I mean, the good thing about QStar is that we are multi-market, and we've been very fortunate to work with people like Cohesity, Rubrik, and Haiku, where we provide the tape-out options for their backup solutions, which are obviously primarily cloud. They realized very early on that they needed a tape solution as well, and we've been working with all three companies to provide that for multi-years now.
One of the things that companies struggle with is when employees leave a business, whose is that data? Do you produce sort of graphs and analytics of that data? So if it was like, I don't know, text documents or Word documents, PowerPoint, Excel, so can you actually say that Dave produced that file in 2022?
Yeah, I mean, you can, but the AI features will enhance all of that and be able to make it much, much more easy to understand all of that information. Today you really have to know that you're looking for it before you look for it, if you like.
Right.
So you're building content associated with metadata that you need. The whole idea with AI is to find metadata that you don't know you need.
If somebody bought QStar tomorrow, would they get those features if they've got support moving forward, or would that be an extra uplift?
I don't know yet.
Right, okay.
But
watch this space.
Yeah, but the other thing, of course, is that you would have to rescan everything that you've already archived,
right?
Because we can only capture what we are gaining at that point. So if we've already got it, fine. We'd have to scan it to be able to understand more content that we didn't understand at the first point. So yeah, it's a
So when you come back, we'll be able to have another conversation, and AI will be the big thing. So
I think so. Yeah, I mean, if you're not looking at AI in all storage worlds, then you're leaving an opportunity open for a competitor. So no, we want to get ahead of the game and start. Well, maybe not ahead of the game, but at least stay equal with some of our people that are actually working in that same area.
Yeah, because data identification and classification is a massive problem for businesses, because they're creating vast amounts of information. They don't know what it is, but they'll keep storing it and backing it up.
Yes. The other thing I was going to say, you mentioned about organizations' data and people leaving, but this was quite I suppose, with our products, we've done very much a organization view of content. So an IT manager sets policies. I'm seeing an awful lot more where it's actually they are just providing resources, and they're relying on department heads, particularly in the high-performance computing world, to make those decisions as to where that data needs to be put. So they'll offer as we said again, tiered storage, a variety of different pools of content that they can move it to, and then leave it up to the department heads to decide where they actually want to put it. So again, more features that are aimed at individuals to make decisions about their own data within an organization is very important. But you're right, clearing up. We've had a number of instances where we've done archives for colleges or universities, and these are research projects. So, a student that's there maybe 4 years has done his, PhD at the end. That information stays within the university. It's their IP, if you like.
Yeah, doesn't they, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think universities have to keep students' data for 7 years once they leave.
And most of them actually keep it for a lot longer because you never know when that's actually going to be valuable. Somebody could actually come back and go, okay, so-and-so did some
I'd like
research.
to do a master's now.
Exactly. Could be that. Could be that, exactly. Or somebody else comes back and says, I'd like to reuse somebody's content. I read their thesis and I want to expand on it. So, yeah.
Great. Well, there's QStar for you, Dave. Thank you very much for coming
Cheers,
in.
Ray.